go. Brandon, hey, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're just a few miles up the road from me right now, but again, I appreciate you coming in this forum to have a conversation. Brandon, as I know you were listening and kind of watching as I started talking to Val, and I was trying to keep it initially kind of, the who, what, when, where, why, the five W's, and a little bit of the how, the federal and state level, overall what GOA was advocating for, and their efforts to include here in Pennsylvania. And Val did a really good job of highlighting their efforts across the country and the inroads that they're starting to make or have been making in Pennsylvania. A little bit of a slowdown, lost some traction with COVID, but now that momentum is starting to pick back up. And I'm going to tell you, in this part of northeastern Pennsylvania and Carbon County, you have been the catalyst for a movement here. And I'd like to talk to you for about 10, 12 minutes, kind of one-on-one, and then all three of us will have a conversation. We'll take questions that come up. So tell me what, the five W's, who are you? What are you trying to do? Why are you trying to accomplish it? And, what does success look like at the end of the day? And normally we describe success by terrain, friendly, and enemy, so talk to me about your effort here in Carbon County.
So as you said, Mr. Lukasevich, my name is Brandon Bell.
Chris is fine.
Chris,
Yep.
My name is Brandon Bell. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I just got out over the summer.
Mhm.
That's a little bit about me.
Mm-hmm.
So this movement for me personally started middle of January. I believe it was like January 10th. I've been paying attention a lot of what's going on at the state level, federal level, paying attention to what Val has been doing, his movements. I've been a follower for a long time of the GOA. And, I kind of seen it for the longest time. I couldn't take much action being in the military. You know how kind of hands are tied with what we can and can't do while we're actively serving. I kind of felt like something or someone would have took action already while I was in. Also, I was deployed when all this was going on in our around the country, so I couldn't really take part. So when I got out and I seen nothing was going on really, and at the time I didn't know about GOA's effort in Carbon County. I knew nothing about it.
Okay.
So I actually started this on my own at first, not knowing about GOA. I actually reached out to the GOA's website on Facebook, and that's when I was put in touch with them, and that's when we started coordinating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
By that point, I think I was at like 100, 150 followers or supporters at that time, and I said to them, I think it would hurt the movement to just delete what I've already started. I was already gaining traction,
Right.
So I said let's work together, and we all been kind of on board with that. So me, myself, I had my petition, they have their petition. It's really a group effort. They have their people who've been pushing their petition around, and then I've also been pushing my petition around. Like I said, I felt like it was more beneficial to just, hey, it's already got the force and drive behind it.
Mhm.
Let's not just lose something good. So I start petition to the people. Really, that's where it started for me. I was really pushing the grassroots movement. I wasn't really gaining anything really fast. That's when I finally start reaching out to the actual municipalities.
All right.
And when I started doing that, that is when the real drive of this movement, I believe, started in Carbon County.
Mm-hmm.
So I made my way one by one to just about every municipality. As of now, I'm at 17 municipalities that I've presented at their council meetings in person.
Okay, good.
I've sent another 2 over email. I haven't received anything back. Unfortunately, a couple municipalities, they do their meetings on like 1 p.m. on a Monday.
Yeah, a couple real small.
Yeah, a couple real small ones. And
supervisor meetings.
we have everyone kind of has a job, so it's kind of hard. You can't just, it's kind of hard to take off work for that. So I sent them also the same information. And as I've been gaining traction, I've had local news outlets reach out to me. And that's kind of when this movement really, really, I think, took off. People start seeing the online petition,
Mhm.
um, start seeing how fast it was moving.
Right.
As of now, we're at 2,200 online supporters.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have an exact number based off my paper petitions. The one I do know of, I have over 60 supporters on.
Right.
I have every petition or every municipality I've been to, I have a petition at. So
Okay.
there's a potential that I can have a couple hundred more supporters on paper as well.
So Brandon, if I might ask, because Val, and I know you've learned a lot through this experience that you've been driving here in Carbon County. You're definitely at the tip of the spear here. And I'd like to ask you, have you been promoting with your petition? And again, I was looking at it online again this afternoon. Were you pushing an ordinance, a resolution, a proclamation? What specific were you seeking? What document were
So
you
at the
seeking?
time when I started this movement, I
Yeah.
didn't know what the difference was.
Okay.
I was pushing a resolution because that's the only thing I knew of at the time.
Okay.
When I started working with GOA, that's when Val explained to me the difference. A few of his contacts reached out to me, and they also explained the difference. So that's when I started pushing the ordinance. Now, me personally, I don't have any force over a municipality. So I give them the ordinance, and that's what I'm striving for. But if they want to pass a resolution, I can't stop them. I'm just the individual presenting to the
Mhm.
people. So for me, I see it as any action that's taken right now is a step in the right direction. It may just not be the direction we're quite looking for yet.
Right.
And there's always room to grow on a resolution the way I see it. If someone passed a resolution and it's well supported, the odds of an ordinance being pushed can go over just the same results.
Right.
So I leave that kind of on the municipality themselves. I don't supply a resolution. So a lot of them have been going off of Bowmanstown. They were the first to pass the
Okay.
resolution.
Hmm.
So everyone's kind of been piggybacking off Bowmanstown. Palmerton adopted,
Hmm.
Lansford adopted, and Franklin Township adopted.
Okay. And do you have any sense of additional ones that are going to adopt?
As of now, I know Perryville is very looking forward to it. I just was at their meeting recently, and everyone was on board with it. The mayor, their whole council was pretty much on board with it. There were citizens there that were in support of it.
Okay.
So I have a very strong feeling Perryville will be on. Um, from what I've been hearing, Penn Forest Township is looking. They will likely adopt.
Right.
They're a very strong
Yeah.
resource, especially with population wise. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
they are.
support.
They do. So, Brandon, let me ask you, what are you hearing from those who oppose your movement at the county municipal level? What are you hearing in the way of like opposition, or what are their points of contention with what you're trying to do?
The biggest point I've been seeing and hearing about is more misconception. They don't quite understand what it is. And a lot of it, and I've made it known on a lot of my interviews that I've had, is they kind of see this, it's a Wild West scenario. We're not going to enforce any gun laws, and we're going to scare away the tourists, or we're going to become a very unsafe area because the gun owners are going to be this lawless force around here. That's kind of the big one that I see. I do see the occasional domestic violence or domestic abuse
Hmm.
kind of get brought up occasionally. Someone says, well, I was threatened with a gun. If you take these laws out, I could have been killed, or along those lines. Um, and I always reiterate that it doesn't protect someone who breaks a law with a gun.
Right.
It
Okay.
only strengthens the Constitution, what we were given our rights as. It only strengthens that. It's not saying, hey, we're not gonna, for example, if someone robs a bank with a gun, it's probably the easiest example. You're just gonna get away with it. Like that's not gonna happen. You're still gonna be prosecuted for robbing a bank, one. Then you're gonna be prosecuted for robbing a bank with a weapon. So it's not taking laws away that we already have in place. It's just protecting us from those laws that are seen as unconstitutional.
Brandon, I want to ask something. You recently came out of the service, and thank you for that. And I know I hate when people say it to me, but I'll still say it to you regardless. But hey, other than obviously working with Val, or having conversations with Val, having conversations with really a cross section of people here in Carbon County, what are some of the lessons you've taken away from the experience when it comes to advocacy for something that's so important to you? And I would say seeing the movement, at the state and federal level, that's important to many Americans. What have you learned from that?
So my experiences from the military that really helped me was you can't just give up on yourself. There's always you have your good days, you have your bad days. And with a lot of the opposition, some of the comments get really nasty. I don't really let them get too personal. I just, hey, I see what it is. You guys are against it. I get it. Whatever. Just keep doing me. Also, just how to be a professional. I would like to say that they taught me how to speak, but I'm a grunt. I hump packs all day and I shoot guns. That's what we did. So, this experience itself, I would say, has made me a better person. Not just what the military has taught me. I was never much for public speaking. I was a lot of people in the service who served with me, they'd say I was more of a shy person. It wasn't until you got me comfortable that I'd kind of come out of my shell.
Okay.
And
that's great.
The military helped me a lot with that. But this movement has cracked my shell. I'm not afraid to talk as much anymore. I still make my mistakes.
Sure.
But that's just the lessons of learning about public speaking.
Okay. Well, in about a minute and a half, we're going to bring Val back in, and we're going to kind of elevate the conversation. We do have a couple questions there, and we're going to hit those questions both at Val's level and down to the grassroots levels that you're at, Brandon. But you see Tyra Boney, Clerk of Courts, right behind me, and I understand you're going to take some of your energy and passion. And I was just looking at the casting of ballots or drawing of lots for the petitions, and I see that you're running for a township supervisor. What brought that about?
That is correct. The thing that really brought that about is after speaking a lot of it with your local officials, whether it be a mayor, a supervisor, a councilman, a lot of them seen energy that they feel like this area needs. We have a lot of the same issues in these small towns where it's the same people running over and over and over again, not being opposed, or if they're opposed, it's just another person who's been in the area for a very long time. There's no real youth energy in there.
Yeah.
There's no one with difference of opinions. So a lot of them see me as a way of, hey, this can help bring the youth into our local politics.
Mm-hmm.
They also seem I'd say they seen the good in me. A lot of people who I've spoken to personally, they all kind of want to feel me out through personal interviews because to hear something about someone that doesn't really give you a true taste of what that person's like.
Sure.
And a lot of what I've been told after my meetings is, I wasn't sure about you, but after our meeting, I feel like you're a very affirming person. You're speaking well. You present well, and you just have an energy about you that this area can use. So that's kind of been the lead-in.
That's perfect, Brandon. But I'm going to tell you, I'm a bit older than you, but I have had the same resistance to certain maybe items I was pushing. Even at my age, right? Your self-confidence increased. You felt you wanted to make a difference, you get involved in politics or elected office. Once people get to meet you, because I'll tell you what, I don't smile, right? I don't smile. I walk with confidence, just like Val does also. Us military guys, we walk straight, we walk with confidence, and that's not an approachable, way we carry ourselves. So we have to adapt to our new environment.
I totally agree there.
And you're doing that, and you're doing
That's true.
a great job. And I saw a few comments that popped up, and I've spoken to quite a few people who have interacted with you. And again, the guy they may see, the bearded wonder there, the grizzly man, isn't the same guy once they have a few minutes of conversation in there. So what I want to do right now, other than first and foremost saying, hey, this is Carbon Matters live streaming. I'm C4, Chris, Carbon County Commissioner. Thank you for joining me. The official drink of C4 is C4. Buy it at your local Turkey Hill, right? Probably, and contribute a couple pennies to whatever charity pops up on that little keypad when you buy C4, the official energy drink of Chris Lukasiewicz. I actually don't drink it. I'd never drink it. Someone gave it to me the other day. They saw it, so there it is. But I do a plug for him anyhow. Val, so tell me about the first time you had an opportunity to interact with Brandon and what your thoughts were with his movement and what he was trying to accomplish and how he was trying to accomplish it.
Well, I mean, we're grateful. GOA is a grassroots organization. We don't approach gun rights like some other organizations do. We really rely on the grassroots, and the whole Second Amendment sanctuary movement in Pennsylvania is, as GOA tried to facilitate it, was to use county coordinators and to use local people who were interested in this, who really wanted to make a difference in their counties. Like I said, we did start in Carbon County about a year ago. A lot of things got derailed, and it's almost like everywhere in the state right now. It's like a switch. We're picking up where we left off again. And it's really good that Brandon is out there doing this, and it's a real relief to have someone of his energy, getting out there, getting people to pay attention to what's happening in their community, standing up for something that you believe in, standing up for the constitutional rights, the oath the three of us took when we served our country. My oath doesn't expire. You and I, Chris, are retired officers.
Mm-hmm.
We're still officers of the United States. Right. And our oath never expires. And it's just encouraging to see a young Marine. Brandon will be Marine for the rest of his life, and I'm sure Brandon believes in his oath too. So, so it's really good that we were put in touch with him.
All right, Val, you mentioned something about kind of the strength, and Diane had a question. Diane Dietrich Fisher asked, how strong is this statewide, this movement? How do you assess it?
The movement was very strong back in February of 2020, March of 2020. And of course we had the COVID. And I think what happened was this, back in December of 2019, Bradford County passed a resolution. Mm-hmm. And I know we talked about this on the phone. And that gave the counties a way to do something very easy, rather than wrestle with the ordinance. Uh-huh. And so they kind of fell like dominoes, and so we had COVID, everything was put on hold, and now it's picking up again, and now they're falling like dominoes with the resolution. So it was very strong in certain areas, particularly. We have very strong movement in Bedford County. Lycoming County was extremely strong. Somerset County was extremely strong. But then again, if there's an easy way out, politicians take it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm going to jump on that. I'm going to I'm actually not going to segue. I'm going to stay on that, but I am going to jump to Brandon real quick. Brandon, you've obviously seen momentum building in Carbon County, unquestionably. But how strong do you think the movement is? Or, do you expect to have 15 of 23 municipalities, and then number 4 would be the county? Or I mean, what are you kind of seeing? Or think you can kind of get?
I see the movement. It's very strong. I think 15 would be a very reasonable number. A lot of it has been the municipalities have all been watching each other. So it's kind of like, who wants to make the move? Who wants to make that move? And now that there's a couple that are actually taking it, I have others that have reached out to me, and I have councilmen who are like, hey, we seen so-and-so just passed this. I think for our next meeting, we'll put it up for vote. So I do suspect within the next month, that's when you're going to see, for April, I suspect that's when you're going to see a lot of them start rolling over.
Yeah, we were really strong in Fayette County too. So we had a lot of people active. David, the fellow in Fayette County, who was our state or county coordinator, his name was David Shaw. He was actually the former Republican chair of the county who was behind this. So we had a lot of momentum, but then the resolution started again when things started to open up. So we're just going to keep pushing forward with it and see what happens.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's go back to conversation. We were talking about the strength of the movement. Brandon, you said it looks pretty strong in Carbon County. 15 is kind of an objective. Would like to do better than that.
Absolutely.
But Val had hit on a couple of points a couple times about the weakness of a resolution. I believe it was Tyler who's on the line asked, what do I think is the probability or the possibility of an ordinance being passed in Carbon County, specifically an ordinance? I think it's going to be tough. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it's going to be extremely challenging to do that. And I don't think it's political. I think it's probably more about trying to weigh what is ultimately in the best interest of all the citizens of Carbon County. Brandon, I know I said this to you probably a couple times. Commissioners don't run the county; they run county government, right?
Absolutely.
And that is a big difference. So with saying that, I'm going to turn that over to Val. Val, you know what? It doesn't matter how I vote as a commissioner, be it a resolution or really an ordinance, because, I control with my two fellow commissioners under the county code of 3 commissioners here. Again, we don't have home rule here. We control about 400 employees and about 10 buildings, which they work in. So beyond that, other than writing an ordinance to say you're going to pay $1 to park in our county lot, I really don't have much, gravitas to make a difference. So what do you say?
Well, Pennsylvania is kind of a unique place, and it differs county by county. And at least, the things that are under your control, if you pass an ordinance, the ordinance will forbid any county funds to be used for the enforcement of unconstitutional laws, whether that's through the sheriff's department. It also, municipalities could follow your lead, and if they have police departments in their municipalities, there's that. So there's a number of things that it would do. It also sends a much stronger message to Harrisburg and DC, particularly Harrisburg, because we're in the state.
Okay. Yeah.
That we're not going to accept, things like red flag gun confiscation orders, universal background checks, registering firearms, and banning, semi-automatic rifles, those kind of things. And if they are not going to be actively enforced or using county funds to assist in the enforcement of them, that is what an ordinance would do. A resolution would not do any of those things. To the extent that your county is involved in that.
Right. So
You talked about red flag laws. Could you describe them a little bit? What are red flag laws and how do they
impact
adversely the Second Amendment?
Right. So a red flag, we call them red flag gun confiscation orders at GOA, and what these are ex parte orders from a judge, and what that means is that only one party argues a case before a judge and says, I think this person is dangerous. And most judges will be pliant. They will be afraid to make a mistake. And this is what we're seeing across the country. And so they end up issuing an order and say, this person is just on the mere accusation of being dangerous. Now, this is ripe for abuse, isn't it? Then someone shows up at your door at 5 a.m. and this happened to Gary Willis in Maryland. Someone showed up at his door at 5 a.m. and he was killed over a family dispute, and someone in his own family red flagged him. And so and then 10 days later, or whatever your state law is going to say, that some of the bills in the state legislature say 10 days. 10 days later, you'll get the opportunity to argue to get your rights back.
Right.
Okay. And spend $10,000 or more on an attorney, at that point. So, and we believe not only is this kind of a violation of our Second Amendment rights, it's a violation, it's a gross violation of our due process rights. This country is built on the fact that you have the right to face your accuser. And if we keep growing and expanding these ex parte orders where only one party argues the case before a judge and you have no right to confront your accuser, I mean, we can see that, an angry ex could use this against you, right. Or somebody who didn't like what you posted on Facebook.
Right.
Right. And if someone has it in for you and they go before a judge and, think about it from the judge's perspective, they don't know and they're going to be afraid to make a mistake. And that's what like I said, we're seeing that across the country. And so it's ripe for abuse and it turns due process on its head.
Right. So Brandon, let me ask you a kind of a contemporary event and how that impacts what we're talking about is momentum. You just had the shooting in Atlanta. And you had the shooting in Boulder, Colorado. How do you think that impacts your movement here in Carbon County? Is that going to take a lot of steam out of there because there's going to be increased hesitation, Brandon?
I'm seeing a lot more opposition right now. I've been kind of scrolling through Facebook. So right now, a lot of people are, we're in the age of the memes. So a lot of memes are being pushed around on different pages on Facebook, especially some specific Carbon County pages. And I'm very fortunate that the people who are supportive of the movement, they kind of come forward with facts. So I do think it will slow us down a little bit, but I think the movement's strong enough that it'll weather it. Also, as long as we keep our points valid and use facts and statistics to back what we're saying, I can always say, we can ban all guns, and this is far left, but, even if we banned all guns, murder was a thing. Adam, or not Adam and Eve, can't think of it now, but
Cain and Abel.
Yeah, that's it.
David and Goliath. I mean,
exactly. So, we don't need guns to murder someone.
Right.
Murder's always been inherent in human history. So to say, let's just get rid of all the guns, which is far-fetched, that it'll just solve all our issues, far more people are killed by knives and hammers than by firearms. So, it kind of goes back and forth. I'm hoping, the movement keeps pushing forward, but, I think we'll weather it. It's just, we got to be very careful how we word things coming from our side of things.
Val, so you at the state and federal level, you may or may not see things differently. Is this a time when, again, this is great being around two military brothers, because I can say things like, is this the time to take a military pause or a tactical pause, take a knee, again, a respectful knee, not like the knees we see people taking these days. Is this the time to take a tactical pause, or is this the time to keep pushing on to the objective?
No, press on to the objective. Here's why. Because if you back off, it's a preemptive surrender. Yeah. And we know preemptive surrenders don't work in military scenarios. Appeasement does not work. You could check World War II history on that, as you're well aware of. Yeah. No. So we don't want to do that. And what we do is we present the facts and we say, these are what the facts are. The actions of criminals do not affect my rights. I've never seen a firearm yet. I have a bunch of them. I've never seen any one of them crawl out of the closet or out of my gun safe and commit a crime.
Right.
Okay. And so anybody who owns a firearm, the person who uses a firearm, that's the person who's responsible when they commit a crime. And, blaming the gun, whatever it is. Now, the latest thing from our AG, our crusading attorney general, is ghost guns. Woo, scary, right? Unfinished receivers. He writes an opinion that says that 80% lowers are a firearm, which is in clear violation of the law. And it got struck down on an injunction was made by Judge Brobson. And, this is, we're seeing these egregious assaults. So no preemptive surrender.
Okay. So speaking about, you kind of talk about law and interpretation of laws, making laws. So in Pennsylvania specifically, because Phil made a mention about lots of legislative moves being made to keep an eye on. Are there a couple in Pennsylvania that folks who are strong 2A advocates should be concerned about right now?
Right. So on the anti-gun side, of looking at bills, the ones that I think would have the greatest chance of passing are, of course, red flags, which we just talked about. And right now it's the unfinished receivers, the 3D printed firearms, the scary ghost guns, right? From the Attorney General, which is SB 413, SB 414, and the House equivalents. So those are the ones I think would probably have the highest threat. Then it's on my radar. There are probably 40 plus anti-gun bills at this point that have been filed. On the pro-gun side, on the things that we're pushing at GOA very strongly is constitutional carry.
Yeah.
Hey, we have in spite of what the Ninth Circuit says, we have a constitutional right to carry. So what does the state do? It turns around, it takes it right away from you, and it sells it back to you for $20 every 5 years.
Right. And we're talking about quote unquote concealed carry.
Right. Constitutional
We've
carry.
had that right.
Strengthening the firearms preemption laws to stop Jim Kenney's in Philadelphia and Bill Peduto's in Pittsburgh. That's the second one. And then, like I just mentioned, the Right to Keep and Bear Arms Protection Act from Mastriano, and then the House bill from Metcalf, which is to basically put a stop to anything the Biden administration may push down our throats.
Okay. So there is some, definitely some legislation out there that is alarming, continues to be alarming.
Yes.
And individuals need to be, always alert for what's coming down the pike. Val, when you had conversations or interactions with Brandon, what was your guidance and counsel to him based upon your experience, working at the state and then the federal level on this issue?
My guidance would always be, and I think I mentioned this to him, is ask for what you want. Right up for you always ask for what you want. You don't settle up front for something different and compromise up front, and that wouldn't be a compromise anyway. As long as we're moving gun rights incrementally in the right direction, we're not compromising. We're advancing our rights. Mm-hmm. But, so that means asking for the ordinance. Don't accept the answer that you'll get because of the pushback from township solicitors or county solicitors that can't do this. We have to do the resolution. Well, no. Push for the ordinance. Mm-hmm. and see where the chips fall. We get the grassroots involved and then push it. That's how we approach things at GOA. We tell the Harrisburg legislators, here's what we want.
Right.
And you shoot for the moon, hoping for to get to the mountain, but you're always moving in the correct direction. What we don't want to do is compromise the other way. We never try to make a bad bill better. That's horrendous because you're losing right from the start. Right.
So have a strong bill up front, go in heavy, and if sometimes you might lose some things through the legislative process. Just like you go in with an ordinance, it may be watered down a little bit, and you still may get an ordinance.
Right. So it's like Karl von Clausewitz says, always attack. Even in defending attack, you always, and the best defense is always a good offense. Mm-hmm. Even though we have anti-gun bills, we always want to have a pro-gun bill, and we want to push it. Mm-hmm. So it puts the other side on defense if we're pushing something hard, because if you're only playing defense, eventually you're gonna lose. Nobody wins a purely defensive war. So that's it.
Yeah, Brandon, is there a timeline as part of your overall strategy? Is this time driven? Is it event driven? I mean, when do you know you succeeded?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. I wasn't sure too much on time in the beginning. Like I said, when you and me first spoke, mm-hmm. I set a very conservative goal on my first week. I said I wanted 50 supporters. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how this movement would take off.
Yep.
Now, I'd like to see someone by early summer, late spring. I'd like to see someone at the county level, because mm-hmm. by that point I should have well over 2,500 supporters. I'm coming close on it as it is now. Also, now that I've approached all the municipalities, I can now follow up on them. I can start putting out calls to action and get supporters who have signed my signatures to start reaching out to their individual municipalities and start, hey, this is what we want. So it's definitely more time driven, especially now with me running as a township supervisor. I gotta also put my efforts towards that. So right now, this has been my big focus. But now that I'm kind of at the point where I covered most of the county, I can start having the people more involved instead of just me involved.
Right. And I will tell you, as someone who ran for office, and again, so driving a different train, that's aspirational, because there's no one who's going to be as passionate about this issue, Brandon, as you are. And I'm going to tell you, if you want to be successful, you're going to be both the tip of the spear and you're going to be the shaft, right? You're going to be driving it. You're going to be, multi-rolling. And what you're going to see is you'll have a lot of support, but when it comes to rubber meeting the road, you're going to be the point man. You're going to, and you'll be dragging some people, you'll be pushing others, and then you'll have a couple wingmen, folks who are really going to move along with you and help you pick up some of that burden and help do that. I will tell you a little strategy when it comes to the county. And I know we are going to welcome you just like we'd welcome any citizen who comes before the Board of Commissioners. While there is no restriction at this time for individuals to be physically present at the meeting, we're still kind of sensitive to it and prefer that, public comments are presented by 9 a.m. via email or phone call and stuff like that. The way things are going, in the next month or two, things are going to start opening up. And I would just say, when you decide it's time to come to the Board of Commissioners, ensure it's the time when you can comfortably come and you'd be comfortably welcomed in person, because that's where you're going to have the impact with your personality, your ability to speak clearly, concisely, completely, make your point. The interaction face to face, with the three commissioners is just going to be so much more effective. So I think again, we say tactical patience, right, is going to help you achieve a strategic effect. So don't rush it. I think you're moving along real well. And I am telling you, my fellow commissioners, we do talk about it, about the movement, and in recognition that at some point, just like every municipality, we will be approached and we will have to make a decision on the best interest of the residents of Carbon County that we represent and all the interests that we represent. Because I hear, well, if you do a 2A ordinance, sanctuary ordinance, and that's one thing, no one likes the sanctuary term. I understand where it comes from and why it was adopted, let's say, but everyone seems to be really sensitive to that word. We think about, illegal immigration in sanctuary cities and stuff like that, but be prepared to come. You are going to be welcome. Serious consideration is going to be given. We are going to meet with the good doctor also and have a conversation with him. And part of that is wanting to be able to make an informed decision. We've had well over 100 folks who have emailed us so far at the county in regards to that issue. Overwhelming support. I'm talking, of 105 or so, I would say 100, maybe just shy of that, fully support some type of action by the Board of Commissioners or supporting the effort from outside county residents, and a handful who are opposed to it. But at the end of the day, we're all going to have to make, a judgment, an informed decision. And the good doctor there is going to help us do that when we have a conversation with him also. Val, a closing comment from you now that we're at the 21:30 hour here. Yeah.
We're going to play taps and.
Oh yeah. Well, here's a question. And I did I did about 2 years on David Monthan Air Force Base at the
Oh, really?
20th Tactical. I was a CPX, helping them do exercises. I had to do something before I went overseas for a year. So I needed a job coming out of my master's program. So they're at DM and stuff like that. But I am going to ask you a question. You talk TAP. I don't know, Brandon, you're another one. What is the longest bugle call that the Army uses? Any idea? And it's played after TAPS, actually. All right, tattoo.
Tattoo.
It goes on and on and on.
I know retreat's pretty long.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's tattoo. Yeah. Anyway, so go ahead. Over to you, Val, for the last minute, and then I'll give 30 seconds, a minute to Brandon, and then we'll wrap it up.
First of all, Chris, thank you for the opportunity to come on to your show. I really greatly appreciate it.
Yep.
Again, GOA is here to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Pennsylvanians, Carbon County, to everybody. And if people are interested in GOA, they can go to our state website is pennsylvania.gunowners.org, and you can see what we're doing in the state legislature. And then our national website is gunowners.org. And, you could sign up for our email list there. It's free, and we'll keep you informed of what's happening all across the state. Thank you again.
Good. Okay, Brandon, over to you. And I will say, Val, I know you did post it online also.
Yep.
Right, great. Go ahead, Brandon, over to you for a closing comment.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Chris, for having me. Thanks, Dr. Val. It's good as always. I look forward to April when we have our COG meeting. I look forward to actually speaking in front of most of the municipalities.
Also, that's right.
So,
great, fantastic.
I'm looking forward to Val's expertise when it comes to the solicitors. That's going to be the big help, I'm thinking.
We're going to have attorneys there too from GOA.
Okay, so we're going to have a full house that night.
Yep.
Well, so this is interesting. The plan is to do that virtual. Is that correct? Okay,
I believe so.
That's great. We just did have our COG meeting. We actually had a home rule discussion this past one. I think it's great. We're just really a month from seeing you guys again. That's the Council of Governments. I will let you know, we do live stream those on the Carbon County Commissioner's Facebook page. So that's another opportunity to, again, push it out from the Carbon County Commissioner's Facebook page to other groups, all over literally the world, or groups and pages that you belong to. So we do, because that is a public meeting. The Council of Governments is a public meeting. So again, we do live stream it. I am the Carbon County Board of Commissioners representative to that. So I look forward to seeing you guys a month from now. I know Val will be having a conversation here shortly. I think prior to that, actually.
That's right.
Having a conversation, and we really look forward to kind of becoming better informed and educated on your advocacy and that of Gun Owners of America. So good night to Val, good night to Brandon, good night to everyone who joined us. I will be going back through the comments tonight and tomorrow. If we missed anything, I would ask that Brandon and Val do likewise, and they can respond directly back into this feed also. So again, good night. This was Chris Lukasevich, Carbon County Commissioner. This was Carbon Matters. Look forward to seeing you in about 4 weeks, where we'll have a special guest as we roll into elections. I will tell you, on 13 May, Tyra Boney's going to be here with Maggie and I as we talk about the Clerk of Courts, and I will be posting her presentation to the Board of Commissioners later today. Have a good night. Thank you guys so much.
Out here.
Good night.
Out here.